now at 5:30 on Drive Time as a new regular feature. This will be happening on the third Monday of every month. We've got our lifestyle correspondent Lisa Pearson with us. Good afternoon, Lisa.
Hello, Danny.
Hi there. So this is our second feature as well. You were here last month, and what are we looking at this month then?
Well, this month is following on from last month. So we were looking at the psychology of money and why you really want to budget. And I was trying to get you very excited about the idea of budgeting because it reduces your stress and improves your relationships. And I dropped in there that it improves your sex life and that sort of stuff and gives you more value for money. And but then we decided that I'd come back and then talk about how to actually make a budget, because it's not always that obvious and we don't get taught how to do it, and lots of people don't do it.
And isn't there a danger that it could be a bit depressing though when you sort of you sit down, you work it all out, and you just think, oh my word, I'm so broke. Isn't it better sometimes just to live in ignorance and just spend away?
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. But really, if you can get control of your money, you're not going to get controlled by all those marketing gurus. You can make sure you make the most of what you've got. And the stress of not knowing...
Talking to stress, just knocking everything over in the studio. Sorry, do carry on.
The stress of not knowing is worse. Honestly, knowing where you are, knowing what you can have... You will have much more left over at the end of the month that way. And take it easy. You don't have to go for it hell for leather straight away. You build your budget over time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's the healthier thing to do. I mean, my approach might be a very, very quick short-term fix, but you're not going to solve your problems, are you, if you just spend your way out of them?
No, you just get... I mean, we've been in trouble before in the past, and you just do. You learn your lessons. But it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you really, really want. And I think sometimes otherwise we get trapped in a cycle that just goes round and round.
Okay, so how do we do this then? So I've decided, right, I've got to be a grown-up now.
Right.
I'm going to have to start budgeting. I'm going to have to, treat my money seriously and with respect. How do we do this?
There's 3 stages.
Right.
So if I tell you through the first stage first, the first bit...
Yeah, do the first one first, the second one second, then we'll do the third one third,
Do you know what? That always works.
Yeah.
It's funny that.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. Okay. First one, building your budget.
Right.
This one is kind of like an improving thing that goes on over and over time, but you need to build up the budget with information you've got. So first you've got your regular spends, like your rent, your mortgage, your bills that come out, your direct debits and so on.
Right.
Then you've got your average others. So if you look at things like your credit cards and your statements and so on, you've got all your average stuff. So you work out what your average monthly stuff is. And then you start looking at your credit cards and your receipts for what your food and your house bills are every month. So that gives you an idea of what you're going to spend every single month. You've got basically no choice about it, unless you start cutting back, of course. Then there's your debt. So put that in as well. And then, with what you've got left, you create your budget.
Right.
So with what you've got left, you decide, I'm going to have some savings. Savings for fun. I'm going to save up for lots of fun things like holidays and stuff, gadgets or whatever it is your thing. Savings forever, as in, I'm not going to touch these unless it's desperate.
Right, that's like your rainy day fund or the kids' education future or whatever it might be, yeah?
Yeah, or your pension or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what's left from that, I call the pots. If you're in a relationship with somebody else, or you've got family, you get pots.
Right. You don't want to tell them about it, though, do you? Because then they might get a bit of it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I said the better sex. But
right, okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's about the honesty, because the problem is money is used to control, and it's misused in the relationship, basically. And that's where the head in the sand thing doesn't work. So having these pots is really open and honest. You don't have to split the money 50-50 between you and your partner. Just be open and honest and go, no, I'm sorry, I think I deserve 60, or I think I deserve that, whatever. Just be honest about it. Once you have your pot, you have no right to say what your partner does with their pot. Right? It's your pot.
Right.
You do with your pot what you want. They do with their pot what they want. If they decide to spend it on things you think are ridiculous, that's absolutely fine, because you know that it's within a fair budget.
Right.
See? And then the kids have their pots too. So this month we've got to do birthdays, or we've got to do this, we've got to do that. So this month, no, they can't have so many treats. You might save up a bit of pot for some holidays and so on. But then your partner can't say, oh, the kids get so much stuff, I never get anything, or whatever. And so you have these pots. You also, therefore, don't go out and do that passive-aggressive, I'm going to spend, and then hide the bags underneath the bed, which, of course, you've done lots, haven't you, Danny?
No, not me. No.
But I have heard that some women might do it.
Right.
Well,
I'm sure it's a thing across the genders, isn't it? You know.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure men can do it in other ways. They may not go out and buy shoes necessarily, but I'm sure they do it in other ways.
Gadgets.
Yeah.
Yes, iTunes.
Yeah, more drinks than they let on that they actually had.
Yes, yeah, but we normally smell that.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, so you do have to be honest about these pots.
Okay.
But they're magic. They're really magic, and they make a massive difference.
So if you stick to this, then it does pay dividends. It does work.
Yes, it will reduce the stress. You know where you are. If suddenly something goes terribly wrong, you already have all the information, so you can cut back. That's what we did. We literally cut our monthly costs by 50%.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, we're looking this afternoon at how to live to a budget and how to set a budget up. That was stage number 1 of 3 stages. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll be back with Lisa Pearson looking at these other stages in just a moment.
Join Danny Smith weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. for West Hearts Drive Time, the stylish way to get home in Hearts. With features including History Focus, a look at the community notice board, local news, weather, the latest travel and traffic, astonishing guests, celebrity birthdays, info bites, and the best music from both today and yesterday. That's West Hearts Drive Time with Danny Smith, exclusively on 92.6 FM, Radio Verulam.
There we go. That was the adventures of Stevie V with Dirty Cash Money Talks. My guest this afternoon, Lisa Pearson, is our lifestyle correspondent, and I think she's trying to claim she's way too young to remember that, but I think I know better. Anyway, 20 minutes to 6 o'clock, and we're looking at how to budget and how to how to set one up and how to live to a budget. So give us a quick recap of the first one, and then we're on to stage 2, aren't we?
Yes, well, I was talking about how you go through all the information you've got and build up a budget of what you expect your spends to be. There's some very good reminders on moneyexpert.com and myfamilyclub.com.
Okay.
Actually, I'll put them on your website for you.
Right, yes. You're gonna add these things to our blog, aren't you?
Yes.
So people don't have to be worried about writing this down now, because they might have a pan on the go on the stove, or they might be driving or something, so we wouldn't want an accident.
And I'm going to give you a pretty picture that shows you what the budget will look like as well.
Okay.
So in pink, obviously, it'd be lovely.
Fantastic.
And so once you've got that budget, the next stage is the kind of monthly analysis.
Right.
The budget isn't going to be right, to tell you now, so you're going to rejig it, so that's fine. So no guilt, no judgment. It really doesn't matter. This is purely a process of working out how much you're spending and just getting an idea so you can plan ahead. That's all. So you're going to rejig it, and then you're going to have a look and you're going to think, did I actually get the best value for money from my month that I possibly could have done? A good starting point is to look at the little spends. With my husband, that was Starbucks. Right. Sorry if I were allowed to mention that, but any other coffee house could be obviously the same thing.
Obviously, there are other coffee shops out there that also exploit third world countries, not just them.
Yep, but exactly. Well, if you take a coffee a day, multiply it by 5, that's your weekly spend. Multiply it by 20, it gives you a monthly spend. Multiply it for the year. That can be a lot of money. That could be a holiday.
Just one of those sort of coffees a day, that's 15 quid a week or thereabouts, isn't it? Straight away.
Yes, and when you multiply it up, you are talking about a really big spend. So it's things like that, the little spends, it's like working out, does it really give you that much value? And then there's the bigger spends. Now, last time we talked about a certain little kind of flashy iPad thingamajiggy and whether they were valuable. So these bigger spends that you buy, are they really valuable? What you do is you work out what your daily rate is, what you're earning.
Right.
And then you work out how many days you had to work to get it.
Right.
So if you take your salary after tax, divide it by, I think it's 232 days if you work in a full year.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And then work out how many days it took you to earn that thing. Was it really worth it? That's how you work it out.
Okay, I did use a similar sort of formula to work out, if I should have my particular tablet device. But what I did was basically I worked it out based on what I felt I was worth, and then divided it up, and then worked out that basically I'd work an hour, and then I got it.
So you think you're worth quite a lot an hour. That's good.
Have you not heard this show?
Self-esteem.
Have you not heard this show, love? It's great. Should be award-winning. But, or maybe not. But nonetheless, I was having it, and there's no talking me out of it. You're not going to make me feel guilty about it.
No, I know. You loved it, and you got lots of value for money. But not everything.
You can have a kidney before you can have that. I'm telling you now.
Not everything is actually worth working a week for, you know? I've got this really funny thing about debt. I don't like going in debt for more than a season. Not much is worth being in debt for a whole year for.
Right.
Right. So it's like, if you're going to go for a summer holiday, is it really worth being in debt for the whole year for it? I'm not really convinced of that.
Yeah.
So,
well, there are a few sort of like money-saving mantras, aren't there? Like, you know, do I really need it? Can I really afford it? You know, is it really worth it?
Yes, but sometimes you need to see it very factual. And I think how many days you're going to have to work for it is really helpful, because you're really thinking, is it really worth me working for it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when you put it in that regard, I suppose, and you think to yourself, you know, it's particularly if it is if it's a luxury item, you know, and you think to yourself, actually, I'm going to have to work 173 days to be able to get that. Is that really worth it?
Yeah. And then you've got your pot anyway, and there will be times when maybe you are going to go over your pot, and you then tell your partner so that they can go under or whatever. So it's just got to be worth it for you. That's all.
Unless, of course, you can convince them to buy it out of their pot, and then you're guilt-free.
Yes. Well, sometimes it might be worth it for both of you, so you combine pots. Sometimes, you know, your partner just isn't interested, so you have to give up on that one.
Yeah, or take it out of the kids so they don't notice.
Yes. That's the other sneaky thing to do.
Right, okay. By the way, anybody listening now, don't listen to the male voice, really, because I'm an idiot. Listen to Lisa. She kind of knows what she's talking about. So,
and some spends will save you money. So because we were a little worried because my husband went contracting, and we didn't want any big bills coming in, because that would be a real kind of trouble for us, especially if the contract ended, we changed both our cars. Now, by doing that to cars that have lower tax, insurance, MOT, petrol, blah, 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 within 6 months they've kind of paid themselves off. So that's, you know, there are those sorts of spends as well. And then you think, well, what else could I have bought with it? And it's just being really, really clear on that. So that's what your analysis is. So it's not that dull. You can actually have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And over time, the more you do it, the more you're going to get more and more value and be really happy with what you got.
Okay, great.
Danny Smith. He's got the body of an athlete. At home in his freezer.
It's 6.5 minutes now to 6 o'clock, and with us here in the studio this afternoon, we've got our very own lifestyle correspondent. Every show should have one. It's Lisa Pearson. Hello.
Hello.
So we've been talking about budgeting this month, and you said that there were 3 crucial steps to effective budgeting and living to a budget. We've looked at 2 of them already. If people have just joined us, you haven't missed out, because you can go to our blog a bit later on, go to westhartsdrivetime.radioverulam.com, and Lisa's going to post up on there some of what you might have missed. Or you can always listen again, actually. Go to radioverulam.com/listen again and hear it all over again. But Lisa, step number 3.
Number three is a fun one, right? Because you've got your budget, you know what you've got to spend. You've been doing your analysis for a while, so you've got it jigged to be pretty good. It's, you know, it's nearly there. Then you start to think about the future spends, because this is the fun bit. Now that you're starting to get a lot more fun from your value from your money, you can start to think, what would I actually really like to do with my money? What do I actually want to do with it? What haven't I done? You know, it might sound a bit depressing, but when I'm sitting there and I'm old and grey and I've got my little Zimmer frame, what do I want to remember that I did, and so on. And so this is your future plans. This is your future budget. This is what you're going to do next year and in 5 years' time and 10 years' time.
So this is like the one day I'd like to build a conservatory sort of thing, or, you know, one day I think I'd love to go on a cruise around the Med, or that's kind of thing.
Yeah, it's your or your bucket list. Some people call it bucket list, don't they, of what you don't want to miss out on. Having
all the things before you kick the bucket, for those who aren't sure what that phrase meant. Yes,
well, it sounds depressing, but it's not depressing, because it really helps you get your priorities straight. Do you want to never have seen a dolphin? You know, or is it that you just need a proper rest every year? Do you need to save up for that? You know, quick trip to Spain, or do you want to be able to go somewhere? You know, like, I've never been all the way across the world to Australia and New Zealand. I'd love to see New Zealand. Not so keen on Australia. Got big spiders. Doesn't do it for me.
New Zealand, they've all got big airy feet. Have you not seen the Lord of the Rings films?
Yeah, but I'm from Bristol. We're all like that.
Right. Fair enough.
See, I'd feel happy. It would be like home. It'd be good. It would suit me. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd love to see New Zealand. When I was little, I was really lucky. I got to go to Africa. I'd love to go back there. some people, maybe it would be less about travel. It would be maybe that they want to provide for their kids. They want to provide some kind of insurance or education. Some people really, really strongly feel about that.
Yeah.
And they feel that they would have achieved.
Little fishing boat, maybe, for retirement. There could be something.
Yes, that's what my dad always wanted, or he always rather liked a car.
Right.
I
Can't really go fishing in a car.
No, hence the cars, I think, in
Right.
the end. Yeah, I think the boats, he used to like to go to the boat show, not do a boat thing.
Right.
We've been talking about a VW camper van, must admit. Quite fancy saving up for one of those, because at the moment the tent's doing it, but maybe in 5 years' time I might prefer something like a camper van.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, your camping days are numbered, aren't they? So, I suppose it is.
Because I'm old and creaking. Thanks for that, Danny.
I give with one hand, I take with the other. But, okay, so we've got an idea then of those sorts of things. And then then we have to sort of look at how realistic those things are, how many years off they could be if we start saving now. That
yeah,
sort of
exactly.
thing.
Because really, it doesn't matter if it's a few years off. If you've got debt, you obviously might want to deal with the debt first. So if you've got debt, the easiest way to deal with the stress of it is to chunk it down and down and down. It's difficult if you're in fixed employment maybe, but if you say, okay, so my debt is £400 a month, well, that is actually only £100 a week. That's £20 a day. You could potentially earn that if you were doing 2 hours cleaning a day. If you chunk it down, it's much more achievable with the debt. So you'd need to have like a plan for paying off the debt.
Well, you might even find you can make some savings somewhere rather than necessarily having to bring more money in. You might just find that if you gave up smoking, stopped drinking coffee from some of these posh coffee places, that might suddenly make a big chunk into paying your debt off.
I'm really grateful that I actually gave up smoking before it became so expensive. Yes, I must admit. And I did it the easy way. I went hypnotherapy all the way, and it was a piece of cake.
Oh, right.
As we said. So I smoked for 10 years, and I haven't smoked now for a really long time. It shows how really, really old I am. But yeah. I'm
feeling guilty now for knocking your age earlier on, but no, I suppose that, that was just one example I could think of there of ways to perhaps save money if somebody does something like that.
Yes.
People might think they need to give up smoking for health reasons, but they might actually look at it and think, well, from a financial perspective, I'm spending the earth on cigarettes.
I gave up smoking because I didn't want to be wrinkly, and I didn't want to be controlled by it because I'm a bit stubborn.
Right.
No, the health thing didn't work for me. Wrong, I know, but no, that's not why I did it.
No.
And takeaways, you could have takeaways every fortnight rather than every week. There'll be something in your list. That's the great thing about the analysis. There'll be something in your list that when you look at it, you think, that's not actually worth it. That's not giving me enough.
Yeah.
So I'll get rid of it. Maybe you don't actually watch Sky. We realised that we had Sky movies and we never ever got to watch it. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there will be something you can get rid of.
Okay. But sometimes I suppose you just need to be a little bit strict, don't you, with yourself? You need to be honest as well and say, look, do I really use that? Do I need that?
Just be honest and don't feel guilty. It's not about judgment at all. It's just about getting the best you can.
Okay. Well, look, we're just about run out of time now. But if people want to know more about some of these sort of lifestyle things that you're going to be talking about, you have your own blog, don't you, that people could go along and check out?
I do. It's called mummywhispererblog.com. So
Right.
Mummy Whisperer rather than Dog Whisperer, Horse Whisperer.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what we called it last time, but it was something close to that,
It was
wasn't
close. It was money. And I was talking about money. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you do blogging about being a parent as well, don't you? So that's why it's Mummy Whispering.
Exactly.
All right, great. And you'll be back, on the third Monday of next month.
Yes, I will.
Well, we look forward to that. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
That's Lisa Pearson, our lifestyle correspondent. We'll be back after the news, where we'll be looking at the celebrity birthdays, plus another track from our featured artist for the month.